Now listen to me. For too long, you've listened to the noise, the doubts, the fears, the opinions of people who never lived your life. But today, something changes. Today, you become the voice. Because the strongest force in your life is not what happens to you. It's what you say to yourself about what happens. That voice in your head, it's either building you or breaking you. And here's the truth most people never learn. You don't need more motivation. You need more control over your state. Your state, your emotions, your focus, your energy determines what actions you take. And your actions determine your results. Change your state and you change your life. That's why right now I want you to shift something. Sit up straight. Breathe deeper. Feel strength in your body. Because the moment you change your physiology, you change your psychology. Winners don't wait to feel confident. They move with certainty, and confidence follows. Now let's talk about standards. Your life is a reflection of the standards you accept, not your goals, not your dreams, your standards. If you accept excuses, life gives you excuses. If you accept average, life gives you average. But the moment you say, this is no longer acceptable, everything changes. Pain is what forces change, but decision is what makes it permanent. So today, you make a decision. No more negotiating with weakness. No more lowering standards when things get hard. No more letting fear be the loudest voice in the room, because now you are the voice that says, I show up no matter what. I do what needs to be done. I raise my standards even when it's uncomfortable. Let me be clear, your past does not get a vote in your future. Your mistakes do not define your identity. The only thing that matters is the standard you set today. Most people live in reaction. Leaders live in intention. They decide how they feel. They decide how they act. They decide who they become. And when you decide, your nervous system aligns. Your focus sharpens. Your energy rises. This is the power of state. And when your state is strong, you naturally demand more from yourself. That's the power of standards. You don't rise to your goals. You fall to your standards. So raise them. Raise the standard for your focus. Raise the standard for your health. Raise the standard for your discipline. Raise the standard for how you speak to yourself, because the words you repeat become the beliefs you live by. From this moment on, you stop saying, I can't, I'm tired, it's too hard. And you start saying, I find a way, I do what others won't, I become stronger under pressure. That's not hype, that's identity. And identity creates destiny. Let me tell you this, the world doesn't need another follower of noise. It needs people who become the voice of certainty, courage, and action. So when doubt shows up, you speak louder. When fear whispers, you respond with standards. When comfort calls, you choose growth. Because now you are the voice that leads your actions, the voice that commands your state, the voice that refuses to settle. And one day you'll look back at this moment and realize this wasn't just a speech you heard. This was a line you crossed. From average to excellence, from reaction to control, from silence to power. And now you are the voice. Change your state, raise your standards, and watch your life rise to meet them. And stay with me now, because this is where transformation becomes real. Becoming the voice is not a one-time decision. It's a daily discipline. Every morning, before the world speaks to you, you must speak to yourself. You must decide your state before circumstances try to decide it for you. Because if you don't control your state, your environment will control it for you. And most environments are designed to drain you, not drive you. That's why champions have rituals. They move their bodies with purpose. They feed their minds with empowering questions. They speak with intention. They don't ask, why is this happening to me? They ask, how can I use this? That question alone changes your state instantly. And when your state changes, your standards naturally rise. Let me remind you of this truth. You don't get what you want in life. You get what you tolerate. If you tolerate distraction, you get scattered results. If you tolerate inconsistency, you get inconsistency in your outcomes. But when you raise your standards and say, this is no longer acceptable, your behavior is forced to change. And behavior repeated becomes identity. Identity is the real game, because once something becomes part of who you are, you no longer need motivation to do it. You don't motivate yourself to breathe. You don't motivate yourself to protect what you love. You act automatically. That's the level you must reach, where discipline is not forced, it's natural. Now let's talk about pain. Pain is not here to hurt you. It's here to wake you up. Most people change only when the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the pain of change. So if you're uncomfortable right now, good. That means you're becoming aware. Awareness is the first step to power, but awareness without action creates frustration. So action must follow. Small actions, consistent actions, actions aligned with higher standards. That's how you become the voice even when no one is watching. Because who you are in private is who you become in public. Let me say this clearly. You don't become strong by talking about strength. You become strong by doing hard things repeatedly. You don't become confident by waiting for certainty. You become confident by acting without it. And every time you act despite fear, fear loses its authority over you. That's power. And power grows when you stack wins. Keep promises to yourself, even small ones. Show up when it's inconvenient, especially then, because the voice you build in those moments becomes unbreakable. Now understand this, raising your standards will cost you something. It may cost you comfort. It may cost you old habits. It may even cost you certain relationships. But the price of not raising your standards is far greater. It costs you your potential. It costs you your self-respect. It costs you the life you were meant to live. So choose your cost wisely, because life will charge you either way. Now imagine this. Imagine waking up knowing you are in control of your state. Imagine speaking to yourself with certainty instead of doubt. Imagine holding standards so high that excuses no longer fit into your life. That is not fantasy. That is training. And training creates freedom, freedom from emotional chaos, freedom from fear-based decisions, freedom from a life run by circumstances. And here's the most powerful part. When you become the voice for yourself, you become the voice for others. People feel your certainty. They trust your presence. They follow your example. Not because you're perfect, but because you're consistent. Consistency builds credibility. Credibility builds influence. And influence is how lives are changed. So from this moment forward, remember this declaration. I am not my past. I am not my excuses. I am the voice that commands my state, the voice that sets my standards, the voice that chooses growth over comfort. And no matter what happens, no matter how loud the noise gets, this voice will not be silenced, because this voice is built on decision, strengthened by discipline, and powered by purpose. Now you are the voice. Change your state, raise your standards, and lead your life with authority.